Good behavior. Got off early. Dallas lit a cigarette and handed it to Johnny. Everyone sat down to have a smoke and relax. The smoke always lessened the tension. I had to quit. I had quit trembling, and my color was back. The cigarette was calming me down. Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow. Nice looking bruise you got there, kid. I touched my cheek gingerly. Really? Two-Bit nodded sagely. Nice cut, too. Makes you look tough. Tough and tough are two different words. Tough is the same as rough. Tough means cool, sharp, like a tough looking Mustang or a tough record. In our neighborhood, both are compliments. Steve flicked his ashes at me. What are you doing walking by your lonesome? Leave the good old Steve to bring something up like that. I was coming home from the movies. I didn't think. You don't ever think, Derry broke in. Not at home, not anywhere where it counts. You must think at school with all those good grades you bring home, and you've always got your nose in a book, but you don't ever use your head for common sense. No siree, bub. And if you did have to go by yourself, you should have carried a blade. I just stared at the hole in my toe of my tennis shoe. Me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. He would have hollered at me for carrying a blade if I had carried one. If I brought home B's, he wanted A's. If I got A's, he wanted to make sure they stayed A's. If I was playing football, I should be studying. And if I was reading, I should be out playing football. He never hollered at Soda Pop, not even when Soda dropped out of school or got tickets for speeding. He just hollered at me. Soda was glaring at him. Leave my kid brother alone, you hear? It ain't his fault he likes to go to movies, and it ain't his fault. Oops. And it ain't his fault the socias like to jump us. And if he had carried a blade, it would have been a good excuse to cut him to ribbons. Soda always takes up for me. Derry said impatiently, when I want my kid brother to tell me what to do with my other kid brother, I'll ask you, kid brother. But he laid off me. He always does what Soda Pop tells him to, most of the time. Next time, get one of us to go with you, Ponyboy, Two-Bit said. Any of us will. Speaking of movies, Deli yawned, flipping away his cigarette. But I'm walking over to Nightly Double tomorrow night. Anybody want to come hunt up some action? Steve shook his head. Me and Soda are picking up Evie and Sandy for the game. He didn't need to look my way the way he didn't need to look at me the way he did right then. I wasn't going to ask if I could come. I never tell Soda because he really likes Steve a lot, but sometimes I can't stand Steve Randall. I mean it. Sometimes I hate him. Derry sighed like I knew he would. Derry never had time to do anything anymore. I'm working tomorrow night. Daly looked at the rest of us. How about y'all? Two-Bit, Johnny Cake, how about you? You Pody want to come? Me and Johnny will come, I said. I knew Johnny wouldn't open his mouth unless he was forced to. Okay, Derry? Since it ain't a school night, Derry was real good about letting me go out places on weekends. On school nights, I could hardly leave the house. I was planning to get boozed up tomorrow night, Two-Bit said. If I don't, I'll walk over and find y'all. Steve was looking at Daly's hand. His ring, which he had rolled a drunk senior to get, was back on his finger. You break up with Sylvia again? Yeah, this time it's for good. The little broad was two-timing me while I was in jail. I thought of Sylvia and Evie and Sandy and Two-Bit's many blondes, and they were only girls which would look at us, I thought. Tough, loud girls wore too much eye makeup and giggled and swore too much. I liked Soda's girl Sandy just fine, though. Her hair was natural blonde, with her laugh was soft like her china blue eyes. She didn't have a real good home or anything, and was our kind greaser, but she was a real nice girl. Still, lots of times I wondered what other girls were like. The girls who were bright-eyed and wore their dresses at a decent length and act as if they liked to spit on us and give us a chance. Some were afraid of us. I remember Dallas Winston, and remembering Dallas Winston, I didn't blame them. Most of the girls looked at us like we were dirt, gave us some kind of look as if the Socs did when they came in their Mustangs or Corvairs and yelled "Grease" at us, and I wondered about them, the girls, I mean. Did they cry when their boys were arrested like Evie did when Steve got hauled in? Or did they run out on them the way Sylvia did Dallas? But maybe the boys didn't get arrested or beaten up or busted up in rodeos. I was still thinking about it while I was doing my homework that night. I had to read Great Expectations for English. And that kid Pip, he reminded me of us. The way he felt marked lousy because he wasn't a gentleman or anything, and the way that girl kept looking down on him. That happened to me once. One time in biology, I had to dissect a worm and the razor wouldn't cut. So I used my switchblade. The minute I flicked it out, I forgot that I was doing what I was doing, or I wouldn't have done it. This girl right beside me kind of gasped and said, "They are right. You're a hood." And that didn't make me feel so hot. There were a lot of socials in the class. I get put in A classes because I'm supposed to be smart. And most of them, though, thought it was pretty funny. I didn't, though. She was a cute girl. She looked really good in yellow. We deserve a lot of our trouble, I thought. Dallas deserves everything he gets and should get worse if you want the truth. And Two-Bit doesn't really want the half the things that he swipes from stores. He just thinks it's fun to swipe and anything that's not nailed down. I can understand why Soda Pop and Steve get into drag races and fights so much, though. Both of them have too much energy, too much feeling, and no way to blow it off. Rub harder, Soda, I heard Derry mumbling. You're going to put me to sleep. I looked through the door and Soda was giving Derry a back rub. Derry is always pulling muscles. He roofs houses, and he's always trying to carry 2 bundles of roofing up the ladder. I knew Soda would put him to sleep because Soda can put anybody to sleep when he sets his head to it. I thought Derry worked too hard anyway. He thought Derry worked too hard anyway. I did too. Derry didn't deserve to work like an old man when he was only 20. He's a real popular guy in school. He was captain of the football team, and he's been voted a boy of the year. He just didn't have money, but we just didn't have money for him to go to college. Even an athletic scholarship, he won. And now he didn't have time between jobs to think about college. He never went anywhere. So he never went anywhere and never did anything anymore, except work out in gyms and go skiing with some friends sometimes. I rubbed my cheek where it had turned purple. I had looked in the mirror and it did make me look tough, but Derry had me put a Band-Aid on the cut. I remembered how awful Johnny had looked when he got beaten up. And I had just as much right to use the streets as the Socs did. And Johnny had never hurt them. Why did the Socs hate us so much? Why we left them alone and nearly went to sleep over my homework trying to figure it out. Soda Pop, who had jumped into bed by this time, yelled sleepily for me to turn off the light and go to bed. When I finished the chapter I was on, I did. Lying beside Soda, staring at the wall, I kept remembering the faces of the Socs as they surrounded me. That blue Madras shirt the blonde was wearing, I could still hear the thick voices. Need a haircut, greaser? I shriveled. I shivered. You cold, pony boy? A little, I lied. Soda threw one arm across my neck. He mumbled something drowsily. Listen, kiddo, when Derry hollers at you, he doesn't mean nothing by it. He just got more worries than someone his age ought to. Don't take him serious. You dig, pony? Don't let him bug you. He's just really proud of you because you're so brainy. That's just because you're the baby. I mean, he loves you a lot, savvy? Sure, I said, turning for Soda's sake to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. Soda? Yeah? How come you dropped out? I'd never gotten over that. I could hardly stand it when he left school, 'cause I'm dumb. The only thing I was passing anyway were auto mechanics and gym. You're not dumb. Yeah, I am. Shut up, and I'll tell you something. Don't tell Derry, though. Okay. I think I'm gonna marry Sandy after she gets out of school and I get a better job and everything. I might want to wait till you get out of school though, so I can still help Derry with the bills and stuff. Tough enough. Wait till I get out though, so you can keep Derry off my back. Don't be like that, kid. I told you he doesn't mean half the stuff he says. You in love with Sandy? What's it like? He sighed happily. It's real nice. In a moment, his breathing was light and regular. I turned my head to look at him in the moonlight. He looked like some Greek god come to earth. I wondered how he could stand being so handsome. Then I sighed. I didn't quite get what he meant about Derry. Derry thought I was just another mouth to feed and somebody to holler at. Derry love me? I thought of those hard, pale eyes. Soda was wrong for once, I thought. Derry doesn't love anyone or anything, except maybe Soda. I didn't think I didn't hardly think of him as being human. I didn't care. I lied to myself. I don't care about him either. Soda's enough, and I'd have him until I got out of school. I don't care about Derry. But I was still lying, and I knew it. I lie to myself all the time, but I never believe me.